to go, Charlie. 194.
You guys don't like this one?
Say the words. Say you want this. Nothing happens until I hear you say it. I want video. Burnout.
I'm supposed to show this to the producer.
Oh, that's film. Don't you have a tape? Such a pain to reserve a projector.
Well, that's why I brought one. I know all these visuals, and I can show them to your producer right now.
Look, I see everything first.
It'd only take 5 minutes.
All right, set it up.
Good. Now, in the comic stories, Dr. Magic lives in this strange old house.
We're not using any comic book junk. I hired professional writers. They're redoing it all.
But it's been published for 20 years. It's one of the best-written magazines.
Excuse me, that actor, isn't that you?
Yeah, it is. I just used my own costume.
Why are you acting in this?
Because I'm always available and I'm very affordable.
Why isn't there sound?
Because I'm not doing the sound.
Who directed all this?
I did, just to show you to your producer. I made this whole film.
Okay, shut it off.
There's still 2 more minutes.
Look, what do you want from me?
I want to show this to the producer.
All right, video burnouts. This week we've got a real treat, talking about the Wizard of Speed and Time. This movie kind of defies description, but what is this, producer Eric J? This is the IMDb description?
Oh, the back of the box.
Back of the box. Okay, my bad. Wizard of Speed and Time is a satirical comedy fantasy about Mike, known as the Wizard, in special effects filmmaking. He is summoned to Hollywood to create a special effects tour de force. Together with his unique variety of friends, Mike sets out to create a masterpiece. Unbeknownst to him, the producer has sinister motives and attempts to sabotage the project. The madcap comedy, the madcap comedy, through spectacular special effects, propels the wizard and his friends into an adventure that is literally out of this world. Do you think that's a fair statement, gentlemen?
As fair as could be for the back of a box for this one? Sure, yeah. Why not?
I mean, no mention of the movie within a movie.
Yeah, it'd be cool if it was a bit more meta.
Yeah, but I mean, then again, how would you even try to market this
sell
thing?
that? Yeah. But no, that was fine. Yeah.
It's the trailer and the back of the box both end up leading you to believe that it's the slapstick comedy, which it's going for throughout. But
and it has elements of that for sure, but there's a lot more going on than just that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this movie.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
I think this is probably like the best the best movie we've done in terms of, like, it's not funny because it's bad and it's not entertaining because it's poorly made, but this is just good. Like, this movie's just good. I'm a big fan of this.
It's definitely something different.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do we even begin?
Well, I guess really there's a little bit of a background to it that I think.
Oh yeah, that's right. Do you guys know the story of the whole saga of this thing?
Lay it out.
Either you or whichever. Mike Jitloff, the main guy, he did a short film called Wizard of Speed and Time in like 1978, 79. And he did a bunch of shorts that are really cool, which you see every one of them used in the film. Unannounced, no context when they're brought into the film, but that plays into what ends up keeping the thing entertaining. The first one you see is when he goes in the office and you see the little clips of fabric. It's like a shopping motif that he did. He did the wizard one. But so anyways, he got picked up from that to do a Disney movie or TV show where they did a special on different graphic artists, guys that did special effects. And in the process of it, he got rubbed the wrong way from start to finish of it. It's supposed to be like a 28-minute special. Disney brought him back to do a second one, which is kind of funny because he burnt all of his bridges while he was there. They wanted, when it came to be found out that his name wasn't going to be on it, which I believe came about when he was talking about how they were going to do the credit part. He was talking about putting that up. They said that they weren't going to use his name in it. and he was deeply offended by that. But Disney always says stuff like, "We'd like to thank our special effects artists," and that's it. So in a passive aggressive way, he then puts everybody's names that are involved in it on the toys that you see in it, so that they're unable to be clipped out of it or harder to be cut out of it. And so that being the backstory of his experience with Disney, and really being shitty about the whole experience. When you know that and you watch Wizard of Speed and Time and his character even being Mike Jitlov in the movie, you see, especially with the mouse references that are very subtle, because a lawsuit from Disney even back then was a big deal. I mean, they were huge in the 80s, of course. But anyways, they
even mentioned Walt Disney at one point.
Does he?
One of the producers says something offhand about the evil producer is saying something like, oh, he's working in his garage. He's a nobody. He's an amateur. And then the nice Lucky or whatever the nice producer goes, well, that's how Walt Disney started, or something like that. Which I did not know this backstory beforehand. You didn't? Okay, yeah. So that's really cool.
That's why
really
when you see the yard sale and he's selling that little mouse,
the mouse head,
it goes to a clip of the mouse thing, and that's from in it. The Disney thing itself is really awesome. A lot of Mickey Mouse memorabilia used in it, all of which, if you had any one of those items, is worth. He uses over, I think they say 1,000 toys.
Wow.
So they're Disney toys from the 60s and 70s that he collects in. But all of that comes through in the film. But the most notorious part to be able to see what he's talking about is when they're checking off all those special effects guys that the producer has on the list board. And he gets down to, and they're trying to find ways to marginalize him off of there so he doesn't have to do it. That is the key to him being one of 28 people. There's a 30-person chart that's up there that was on the special. So anyways, that's the backstory of it. And then the film itself has a whole lot of him rallying against stuff. Always a hit on the labor unions. It's just a running joke on it.
Pretty common Hollywood sucks motif in other movies and books and things like that. Yeah, how the labyrinthine union regulations and things like that.
And the executives ruin everything they touch, quite literally, by knocking the set over when they're not even supposed to be there. A little bit of some metaphor there, I think.
That knowing that, it adds in another meta layer to the movie. But the thing that I really love about this movie is it's not the only movie to ever be about making movies and the difficulty of making movies and all that, but this one is made with such joy throughout. It never feels. So many of those movies, I want to be a filmmaker, and so many of those movies you just end up feeling like, what's the fucking point? This just seems impossible. But this one, the magic of telling stories is always held held high in it. You never feel like you can't do these things. It's going to be hard. I don't know. His enthusiasm and all that, it's contagious.
I can't think of another movie that is as enthusiastic about the movie making process itself as this one. I can't think of one that even comes close.
What this movie always stands out for me is how when people start complaining about CGI in films now, whatever use the problems you have with them are, how you can just throw a budget at stuff. And sure, there's people that have to do it, but there's a loss of that joy of it. Even watching the first Superman versus Man of Steel, there's a joy of watching the hokiness of the flying. There's a fun to it. But whenever people talk about CGI stuff, they always go back to horror films. They always talk about, we need special effects, whenever it was just molded plastic and rubber and melted down and gore and whatever. And this is the movie that I think of whenever I'll take this any day over all the Marvel films. Even though there are a lot of, this movie, I'm 50-50 on how much I enjoy it. A lot of it annoys me. I mean, just the storyline itself is it's everything else is done with such craft that the storyline itself is a hindrance to what's going on. But every 2 minutes, he's throwing in something that took months to put together. Months and magic.
And he's showing you how it would take months to do it, to like
Yes.
further your appreciation of it.
But he'll do stuff like whenever he comes back in the house after he's gone out to the drops all those pieces out of the thing. And he says he's going to go be a pizza man, you know? And then the pieces all organized around. They come in and they make the puzzle of a pizza slice that's this giant thing. And then they break up out and he's like, oh, if only it was that easy in real life. And it's like, that takes up all of 15 seconds. And even if you realize, you know, likely they put the puzzle, the pizza thing together, and then went out from there. But that's a lot of time.
I cannot
for
even
that.
imagine how long that would take.
You're going to put a 700-piece puzzle together, break it up, do all those things.
And how would you even edit that? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's awesome. Now, there's one other thing about this movie that I think makes it stand alone in what it does, is when you talk about like a fluid magic, seamless stop motion and animation. Jim Henson's obviously the master of that. His early work before he was doing puppets, drumline or drums, whatever that one is.
It made me think of that one when you showed me that.
Or the drops of water one. Those are what happens when somebody who is a genius creatively has a vision and is doing something out of it. And nobody's ever going to touch a Jim Henson. Mike Pitlov.
Jitlov.
What is it?
Jitlov.
Jitlov.
With a J.
What he does is come at it from another angle. It's like, this is the motivation whenever you watch like Evil Dead or something. Mm-hmm. We're going to do it. And I'm going to figure out how to do it in a way that looks good. And I don't have to be this creative genius to do it. I don't have to have the magic that this other guy has. You can do it too. And that's what it feels like. You know, you just have to be committed to doing the thing. And it's above and beyond. I mean, it's not like the special effects are just passable. It's not like that by any means. I'm not downplaying what you see in the film, but there's nothing in it that he doesn't make you believe you could do.
Yeah, it's all done in his garage, and like the pizza delivery driver buddy and his brother are his co-directors and all that. The guy that works at the camera store helps him out, and they show you that you could do it. Yeah, and it's so funny. This movie, like the writing, I think is hilarious. It really reminded me of like Joe Dante movies or John Landis, stuff like that. That sort of absurd but very pointed comedy. I don't know. I'm a big fan of this one. This one's really funny, and he's just such a charming dude. He's like on screen, he's got a real charming charisma to him. You can't help not hoping that he'll succeed.
Yeah, and his eyes glow whenever he does something magical.
That always helps with the charisma.
It always does. Yeah, this movie has some great one-liners, and it's very, very punishing to endure. There's just puns left and right. I mean, dad jokes flying. It's really something.
Yeah.
Take on Cheech and Chong at the end.
Yeah, what was that? And you know what? I read the credits as I always do, and those characters were credited as American Thug and Canadian Thug. I kid you not. And I'm just thinking, like, did they think they had Cheech and Chong inked for this deal and they backed out at the last minute and this was the best they could come up with? Or was Cheech and Chong impersonation a thing going on in the late 80s that I don't remember?
They had to choose between Cheech and Chong and Tubbs.
Yes, they do have Tubbs.
Philip
from,
Michael Thomas, yes.
from Miami
a pretty
Vice,
fucking wild cameo when he shows up. It's like, wait a second, he's a cop and all that. Oh, it was so
And
funny.
he's doing his sex with his partner? Like, what?
Yeah, they're kind of getting close there. Yeah, but it's such a good-natured movie. You never push it that far. I guess she's kind of cheating on her husband. It seems like, but still, it's just classy times.
It cuts
Classy
from
times.
that, which is something in even that part where she's like flirting with him, talking about how, and it's a million special effects are happening while anything is going on in this movie. There's never a moment really
Yeah.
where there isn't something going on. Everything's a joke inside of a joke, a running joke. Like he has a bicycle in this movie that has a defense electrical current on it that first he electrocutes himself with it. And then at one point he comes out of an office and you see like 100 people have been trying to help each other ungrab the bicycle.
Yeah.
And they're all getting electrocuted as it goes along. It's like a lot of jokes like that just build on themselves. Which if it was just done without the visual effects would be not good.
Yeah.
But it's how much time's been put into it that just makes this film always make you respect it every step of the way. Everything that's going on is like, yeah, but I put in the time of this. You're not going to get this on anything else. think he spent 5 years on this plus what is the 5 or 6 short films that he includes in it. So I mean, it's like an 8-year project.
Yeah. 5 years in the making, 5 days in theaters.
That's what. Yep, you're right.
Here's a thought, you guys. I'm not in favor of totalitarian dictatorship regimes anywhere, but since we have so many around the world, couldn't they be like a little bit more useful and make their citizens produce stuff like this? We could be having, really amazing stuff like this like every year.
I mean, if you want to see movies made by slaves, then sure, bud.
Well, you could either watch movies made by them or just buy iPods and laptops made by
Fair
them
enough,
and
fair
watch
enough.
whatever movies you want on that. We're all the kettle calling the pot black or something.
I'll take that. I'll take that. Fair.
Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean,
So in Zoe's government,
it's always a like realistic utopia.
but he's having his little Socrates conversation about how they're going to build the republic. His people have to make films that aren't based on goodness, but he has to make films that are based on special effects.
Stop motion animatrix with pixelation. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
yeah.
Pixelation. Got to have the pixelation.
The electrocuting bike reminded me a lot of, I think it's the second RoboCop. It has that commercial where the guy gets into the car, he's going to steal it, and it locks him in and then electrocutes him to death. And they're like, oh, the Securo 5000. Sleep well, knowing your car is safe.
Because that was the joke, was that his bike was so awesome that everyone wanted to steal it. But
Yeah.
whenever they tried, it would just... So it reminded me of Knight Rider in that way. That,
Oh,
remember how
yeah.
you get the ethnic stereotyping bonus every other episode of Knight Rider where the black guy and the brown guy would try to steal Kit, and they couldn't do it, and they'd come back and try again and again and again. It was a running gag like that.
Kind of reminds me of the Pee-wee movie.
Oh, totally.
Oh,
yeah. I think they even mentioned that in the trailer. They're like, before Pee-wee. Yeah. Which I actually didn't check. Is this before Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
I mean,
because
he
it
got-
definitely feels
Well,
like
this
it.
came out, I think, a little bit after, but...
It came out in '88, but he got the green light on it in like '81 or '82. Is
And
whenever it started.
some
So
of
he was
these,
already working on
yeah.
it before then.
Some of this stuff was from way before the 80s even. Some of those...
And depending on the version of this you watch, it'll say 88 or 89 on the back of the box.
It definitely has like a very Pee-wee's Playhouse feel to it with all his little gadgets and toys and things like that.
Pee-wee's probably the best barometer to explain what this movie's like.
Yeah, it definitely
it-
has that feel to it.
Every minute of a Pee-wee episode is, you don't really care about what the word of the day is or whoever. It's just somebody's popping in, something cool happens. And it's that creative, childlike excitement that you watch on Pee-wee that comes through on this one. I think that's probably the best thing to compare it to.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would totally agree.
If you had to, if I had to compare it to something, I'd be like Pee-wee's, bicycle movie on mescaline, times 2.
It's like the
I think-
Kentucky Fried movie.
Yeah. I think of it more like the Pee-wee TV show than I do the movie. The movie
Yeah.
is more linear. All of the movies are more linear, where the Pee-wee Playhouse fun stuff, like in not big regular Pee-wee where he gets his bike stolen, like the only real creative thing you see is the kitchen whenever he's making his breakfast and stuff. I mean, that's
Yeah, they don't do like the goofy house stuff.
it's
like
not
in the
every
movies.
second something's going on. So whenever we compare it to Pee-wee, I would compare it to the show, where like even the chairs talk and this thing takes you to another universe, and you've got the we've all seen
Lawrence
the TV show.
Fishburne's a cowboy.
He is a cowboy.
The casting is phenomenal. the directing of the actors is real. Everybody, there's like no. To me, I never felt like a miss note with anybody. Everybody does a really good job. The two executives are hilarious. The older Jewish owner of the studio, I imagine, is hysterical.
CC, right? Or CJ or something?
Something like that. He's so funny.
I thought that guy was Ron Jeremy.
I wrote that down. I was like, wait a minute, is this guy right? He can't be Ron Jeremy, but he looked exactly like Ron Jeremy.
It's like I passed on buying a movie recently that's one of Bill Cosby's that I used to always want to have a tape of, just some random one. I was like, but when am I ever going to put that on? Like at this point, it's so insensitive. And when I thought it was Ron Jeremy for that minute, I think the first time I put it on for you guys, I thought it was Ron Jeremy. So I was like, no, it's not. Thank God it's not. Now that it's
Looks just like
Wait,
him.
which one looks like Ron Jeremy?
The nice executive.
the
Oh,
nice-
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It looks just like Ron Jeremy did in 1989. is
Yeah,
the
that's-
thing.
Not rough and rapist now. You know, it's young and full of porno hope. You know that one.
Back in peak Jeremy years. Yeah.
So, speaking of actors in this movie looking like other actors, I wrote this down. Is that Inigo Montoya composing the score for the Magic special? Sweet mullet.
Oh man, I would be surprised. What's Inigo Montoya's name? That guy's like pretty well known.
Yeah,
yeah,
Mandy Patinkin.
yeah. I don't think so.
No, of course not. Not
that
any
would be
more than the other
awesome.
guy was Ron
Oh
Jeremy.
yeah,
But
I totally lost the thread of what we were talking about. My apologies. No, Zoe.
But yeah, it really looked like Inigo Montoya, and Princess Bride came out right around the time this one did. So,
It stole all its thunder.
man, that was a sweet mullet, though. Sweet mullet.
Yeah, I did think that Mike Jitlov was the guy from When He Got Shrunk to the Kids. I thought the neighbor dad, you know, bigger the man, bigger the moon guy.
He totally looks like him. Has that same sort of feel. I love the power plants joke.
So, is it worth going through the plot of this movie linearly?
I mean, I think it's pretty simple.
Shouldn't take
I
long.
don't think linearly is necessary.
Yeah, I don't either.
He's just a dude who's been making essentially his real story. I mean, I feel like Jay's pretty much covered it with the behind the scenes inspiration for it. But yeah, he's just a dude who loves making little movies by himself with special effects, and he
dreams big.
He dreams big, and he finally gets an in at a studio. But the evil producer doesn't want to put up with him because he doesn't. He thinks he's an amateur. He tells him, "How can you shoot a movie? You can't even shake hands," which is a great line.
Which is a running thing. He won't shake hands.
He won't shake because he shocks people. At least that's what I
Okay,
assumed.
yeah.
He doesn't say, but I assumed that's why. Then the nice producer decides to have a bet with the evil producer for $25,000 that if this guy can make something that'll be put on TV, he'll win $25,000.
And does that make any sense at all?
No, I don't think in like a realistic way. I wouldn't imagine it'd be so slapdash. But then again, I've never been shit on while trying to make a Disney thing, so perhaps this is exactly how it works.
Yeah, maybe it's side bets and ruining lives, and that's just Tuesday.
Yeah, very Trading Places sort of world out there.
When you know his experience or as you read about his experience with Disney, the more this film comes off as being kind of passive aggressive and jaded, and petty's the wrong word when you're putting so many hours in, but you can see how upset he is and how he has carried. He didn't do another film after this one. I mean,
Sadly.
but even in the film they mentioned it. You know, are you a filmmaker? No, I mean, I went to college to be a mathematician. You know, which that's real. He really got a degree from UCLA, I believe.
And I bet that he really heard producers and others rejecting him, saying, "You can't even shake hands. You're not a professional. You don't know how to have crowd scenes. You can all this other stuff that was in there."
I don't see how you can't. Is her name Cindy? The leading lady in the movie? What am I way off on that?
Lucy,
The girlfriend type character.
I don't remember her name. Cindy Light.
Cindy.
Good call.
She's going to like the cattle call at the beginning. Like I love that line. Like, oh, it's a cattle call. It is a long line. It is very jaded, but again, I feel like it never feels dark. It never, I don't know. It doesn't feel bitter to me, I guess is how I would say.
mean,
Jaded, but not bitter.
Vengeful, but not bitter, like you say. I'm gonna have revenge by making a good movie, kind of at your expense. Kind of was kind of the vibe I got. But I pick up what you're putting down.
You catch the overarching theme is that that all these things you're saying aren't necessary to make a bigger film.
Yeah,
To
definitely.
make the film that I have in mind, which is also what I always have in mind with the guy from Reflections of Evil, Damon Packard. That's what I like about his films so much. Not that they're great, it's that he has that kind of attitude too as well. You know, no, I'm just going to make a movie, and not in a Neil Breen sort of way.
Neil Breen sort of a way.
Something that's done humbly. You know, that says we don't need all these.
They're not about him being great. They're about making an actual good movie.
Yes, and that's the Cindy character plays into that a lot, where he's afraid that he can't pay her once he gets her on, and she says, yeah, but you're so passionate about this, and it's so fun. I just want to be a part of it,
And I like the cynicism of her actress friend who's like, oh, no. This guy's a loser. He does special effects. You don't want to have anything to do with him.
They keep bringing that up. I love the line when like they get all the women together and you can hear like background dialogue and it's like, can you believe that all 3 of them are single? Well, they're special effects men. Oh, that makes sense.
Think like special effects guys are like lower than the lowest production assistant in the
Stuck in
Hollywood
tiny rooms.
totem
They just
pole.
have to do tedious work all day long.
All day long. Yeah. How about that swimming pool scene? One of the better effects in the entire movie.
Where he's drowning the whole time?
Yeah, just sinks straight to the bottom
I
and
figure
stays
he just
there.
learned how to hold his breath for 5 minutes as one of the labors of love for this movie.
I totally think, I definitely think that's real. That was pretty awesome. And again, just you're in such a magical world with this movie. Anything can happen. That when that goes down and it just doesn't cut and it's not effects at all, it's just like, oh shit, this.
And I love how like they're just gonna cheat him and they're just telling him to just go to hell, but then he figures out a way to like embarrass them.
Yes.
And that's the one thing that they can't handle is being embarrassed at their own fancy pants pool party.
The scene that we're talking about is basically the ending before you see like a really awesome visual effect thing. The main character shows up at this party and he wants to get paid.
Or get his film back. Whichever.
And the guy tries to shortchange him. And so
For about the 4th or 5th time, I think.
Kind of constantly, yeah.
So this time he's finally found the producer and met him face to face. And he says, well, if you're not going to pay me, I'm going to create a scene essentially. And he just dives in the pool and is staring directly at him for 5 minutes or so.
His bodyguard tosses him in the pool.
He's just there underwater.
And
And they have this whole scene going on around him.
Where all these people run up to the pool and it's a big commotion and they're saying all this
Throw
stuff.
ropes on the pool.
They
The
throw
rope's
a-
not sinking.
They
Well,
throw
you
a,
can't get it.
they throw a ladder in the pool. Like, you're just going to hit the guy in the head. He's really going to drown.
Nobody wants to get wet.
They're all wearing fancy clothes. They don't want to get wet. So, yeah, he's just like, I'm going to threaten to die in your pool, and that's going to embarrass you more than this $10,000 that you actually owe me.
I love how he lists the scenes that you need to have for
Oh,
a big
yeah.
movie. The chase scene,
The bedroom
crowd
scene,
the
the crowd
bedroom
scene.
scene, and how they still feel organic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that. The cops I thought were really funny, or the fake cops I thought were really funny. I mean, they're extremely goofy, but it works in the world of the movie. I don't know.
It
They made me
does.
laugh a whole lot, and I thought they were that sort of role is really easy to be just stupid, and I didn't think it was. I thought it was actually like really funny.
Yeah, that kind of comedy, not everyone can pull it off.
No, it's sort of Three Stooges type thing.
Yeah.
It goes back to the special effects. So I hate that type of comedy. If we put it on 90% of the time, the just jokes that are shallow, I guess,
Just because they're so dumb.
just to make a joke, to fill up space so that the plot line isn't boring. Typically, the first one to be just eye-rolling, nauseous about it, and because of everything else that's going on, it's like makes it really endearing.
Yeah, endearing. That's a good way to describe this movie in general, I feel. Just like
No, I was thinking of UHF, but I didn't want to offend producer Eric because producer Eric loves UHF, and we did do a watch through this last time that I really enjoyed. We ate the
don't
it was for
don't
Eric's
bring it back
birthday.
up.
We
No,
made
no.
Twinkie wiener sandwiches. Of course, we had to have the veggie sausages for two of us there. Disgusting. Cheese whiz.
That's the only thing that could make it worse would be to use veggie sauce.
No,
That's psychotic.
no.
It's like brats inside of a Twinkie.
I didn't
with
want to
cheese
kill
whiz
something
on top
for that
of it,
meal.
right? In a hot dog bun. Is that
That's right. No. A Twinkie is the hot dog.
okay? Yeah, well, sure. It was disgusting. The cheese whiz is the real problem of the thing.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, all of it's a problem of the thing. The cheese whiz.
I mean, they put so much on.
It was disgusting. But anyways, we wore Hawaiian shirts
Eric had 4.
and at
Blueberry daiquiris.
We had blueberry daiquiris, and we watched it. And I've been shitting on this movie for years and years. We've put it on for Carnage before. And yeah, so Zoe and I are in
I know
agreement.
that
It's not
hurts you
very
every
good.
time you come into
But
my house.
Eric likes it so much. We had a really great time, and it was way more enjoyable this time. But it's the same reason. It's not that I. It's a personal taste for me. I know there's a whole audience. I mean, UHF sells out every time it comes to Alamo.
These two go side by side to me.
Sure, and I'm not surprised. This was Eric's pick. This week was Eric made this one, and I wasn't surprised at all when it was like, I love this one so much. I was like, I remember all of us really enjoying it. We watched it in the backyard, I think. No, we put it up. We put it up in the backyard after that.
It was at your place in the backyard, wasn't it?
That's what I thought. Our place. Yeah.
We watched it somewhere sometime.
Yeah, I thought it was a big projector. We had quite a few people there, and everybody really enjoyed it.
They have very similar plots.
So much that we did it again. We invited other people over, and we did it a second screening. Like, that wasn't, hey, come check out this shitty movie. It was, hey, come check this thing out, and everybody enjoyed it. And that's slapstick comedy in the 80s was easy to come by, and most of it wasn't very good. I think one of the things about this that makes the comedy like that so good is most of the films that we end up watching that we hate are going to try and make things risque. And this one, there feels like if somebody said, hey, we're going to try pushing this to get a PG-13, that the director wouldn't have no go with that. It seems to mean to be wholesome the entire time.
It would be a conflict of tone to have it be risque or PG-13 at all. I totally agree with what you're saying.
Every time it gets to talking about the cop wife that might be having problems at home, that's how it's explained in the film. I mean, it's very PG level of dealing with a topic like cheating with two cops. You know, and that I think is where the greatness of this film. Anybody can watch it. It's still meant to be an adult film, I feel. You know, it's not like the when we mentioned Disney or something. It's not meant to be third
Kids
graders
wouldn't
or
really
whatever.
get it.
Yeah.
Kids might dig it just for the effects, but they wouldn't be able to catch the adult humor.
The Hollywood insider stuff.
But it is very wholesome.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the strength of it. When you try to make another Airplane out of slapstick humor, it just ends up falling flat because you
get Date Movie.
Date Movie
Or any of those, any of those ones. Yeah, the Spartans are dumb. I don't know what that one's called, but
I also like the relationship with the main character and the female Miss Light. What was her name? Cindy Light. Yeah, I thought it was wholesome and
very sweet.
Very sweet and nothing I would be ashamed to watch with my grandmother.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
And they have like real chemistry together, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody in this movie is really good. The world is really funny. I love the bit when the Hollywood tour is going around and they catch them. They catch him jumping up against the side of the Infernal Revenue Service, and they film that. And then he's like, "Oh, the Hollywood jumping wall is open," and so everybody starts jumping on it and knocking down the whole building while the Infernal Revenue Service tries to hold it up. That was hilarious.
Yes, very hilarious.
The suitcase, that whole chase scene is awesome. The suitcase car is really cool. And that whole bit seems very dangerous, and it works.
It looked like he was doing some of his own stunts. Hard to tell for sure, but
yeah, I'm going to assume he was, just because I don't know. It seems like a movie where he would, but I really don't know.
But you're sitting on a suitcase that's flying down a road. How do you do that? I don't even know.
People do that on like skateboards and whatnot. I mean, I'm sure like they blocked the roads off, whatever.
You think they had actual permits for this one?
Well, I don't know. The movie makes a big deal out of not having permits, but I don't know.
I think they did. I watched the credits and they thanked the L.A. County blah 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 blah.
You're ruining the magic. The helicopters, the whole helicopter chase scene when they're out filming at Griffith Park. They're like, "Where are you going? A war zone?" Worse, Griffith Park. It's like how we filmed Batman here. Whenever the helicopters show up, and then they're like, You can camouflage it just under a green rock.
That is a nice bonus with this movie is you do get some sweet locations that do have some history.
Yeah.
The Tower Records shot is really, really cool. You see whenever he's going out to the van, there's one of those. I think it was one of the first 4 Tower Records, if not the very first one that they're showing in the background. I meant to look it up before we did this, but since they're all closed down, I'd be like, I'd have to watch this. I'd have to watch this Tower Records documentary again. It's like
Let's just say yes.
But anyways,
that is the first
still pretty
Tower
cool.
Records in film history
ever.
built for this movie.
It's self-evident.
Duh.
Got something over there?
I thought I did. I was gonna say I thought it was a little long. I really like it. I really like all of it. I feel it's like 10-ish minutes. 10-ish minutes.
It's less than 90 minutes as it is, but yeah, I think it could have. I mean, you want it feature length, but
I thought it's like 97. I think is what it was on mine, like almost 140.
Really?
135.
Maybe I just saw like a shorter version or something. I watched it on YouTube. It was like, I remember it was under 90 minutes, like 82 minutes or something.
That's whenever we were going into this, that was my commentary on it, was that watching it with people, it ends up being fun because you can kind of talk, where the plot's going to go. The garage stuff is awesome. I feel like that part of the plot you're really engaged in, but everything beyond that, before or after, watching it by yourself, it just drags a little. I mean, it really does.
Yeah, very little, but definitely, yeah. By the time we get to like him finally getting to show the thing he's been working on the whole time, I was kind of ready to have already seen it by that point.
Yeah.
But that thing is awesome. But then he shows it, and I'm completely back in it because the little dancing tripods with the clapper that comes up and like starts nibbling at one's ankle, like it's fantastic. It's really fun.
I mean, they go as far in this film to show how tedious everything is. With they get all the film canisters, the old 35 millimeters, and they find them in a dumpster, and they have that's probably one of my favorite jokes in it. It's when they're going to steal the thing, and it's like, well, those are union film things. You're like, you mean I have to be a union guy to steal from them? It's like, I think so.
It's in the
like,
contract.
You got to have a contract to steal it. But then they got them in the garage, and they set them up, and it's like, I don't know, 15 or 20 high, and they make a pyramid out and a shape and lighting behind it. But then somebody comes through and falls over it.
The studio executive does that.
Knocks them over. And it's just that, dealing with that process of it. Like, now we have to reset this shot. And that's the nightmare of low budget stuff like this.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, if it's you and your buddy, there goes 3 hours. And then you got to set up the lighting again. You got to worry about whether you knock it over again. All of it. And that's what makes that whole... I think you realize how engulfed you are into the movie when that scene happens. Because I'm frustrated by it. Like, damn it, man.
Yeah.
Why'd you have to do that? That's so tedious. It's like knocking over a toilet paper, like all those toilet paper racks and, Raising Arizona or whatever it is, where you're in a convenience store and somebody knocks it over. It's like they have a crew of 15 people, and they're shitty when they have to redo that thing. Better yet, the 3 guys they have on this one. You're like, damn, I feel bad for you, even though you chose to put this in the film.
This man is dangerous.
Great.
Okay, here we go, and I'll synchronize the music at the beat.
Music? We can't use outside music.
I am the wizard of speed and time. The world of film is where I shine. I've got magic to let you see just where you were and want to be. On imagination's silver screen, I can help you find your dream, 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 dream. Round to me, all of my friends, and dance to your wishes in the camera lens. Watch for the wizard in the robe of green, and I will help you find your dream, 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 dream.
And I like how this movie keeps throwing obstacles at this guy and his dream to make movies, you know, with the union rules and the studio execs and the permits and everything else. But there was one obstacle that I'm not so sure about. Like, it doesn't rain that much in Los Angeles ever, does it? That's my understanding, right? Like, I don't know. Like, that was like serious, you know, typhoon, monsoon.
Yeah, it's pulling out the palm trees.
Rain. And I just don't think LA does that. I don't know.
Well, only when you're the Wizard of Speed and Time. the forces of nature conspire against you.
Mother Earth herself is working against the movie, but he overcomes it all anyway.
Speaking of like the garage shots and him setting up the canisters and all that, I love those bits because kind of getting back to what we were saying about this movie, they make you appreciate the effects when they actually happen, like pulling back the curtain just enough so that way you're not enough that you're not surprised when you see the end effects, but just enough that you know what went into making
some
these
appreciation
things.
for it.
Yeah, and the time and the actual artistry of doing that.
How this sausage was made.
Yeah, it makes just all those effects that are done in other movies. It makes them so much more meaningful seeing just those bits and being like, man, yeah, these guys, that's what it takes. And you know, I'm going to blow through it in, 90 minutes and complain that it's too long. Like, what a dick. So, those scenes are fantastic for setting up the entire movie, for adding to the level of appreciation for the movie. I love that bit.
So, who had some favorite lines of dialogue?
I think I already did mine. The you can't make features, you can't even shake hands. I think that's my favorite line.
I think I wrote down more lines of dialogue for this one than any other one. I had quite a few that I dug. When the evil studio exec was telling the Cheech and Chong knockoffs to go kidnap the guy. The Chong knockoff guy says, "Oh, we're not like killers, eh?" But then the American thug guy says, "Guns or knives," and he's like, "No, don't kill him, just kidnap him." So that was a pretty good one. I also like at the wall jumping scene that you talked about earlier. There was a lot of voiceover work where it was just like you could clearly tell it was done in the studio as a looping thing afterward, because you couldn't see the characters saying it, but it was like a group of people. So there was a lot of sweet dialogue like that. But at the wall jumping scene, somebody in the background says, "It's a wall jumping party, just like back home." I was like, yeah.
I did not catch that. I'm glad you mentioned it.
It's a wall jumping party, just like back home.
I want to go back home with that person. But I think that my favorite line of the whole line of dialogue in the whole thing, if I had to name one, there was that weird thing that the Ms. Nice was at, where she was, they were doing the musical thing where they were the stars and the planets and the constellations. And this female performer walks by, and the guys all turn and look as she walks by, and they say, "Nice asteroid." That was like, oh, that just tickled me in my 1980s little heart. So, yeah, I wrote down a few more, but those are the best ones. Oh, yeah, at one of the parties, somebody said, "Look at this cheese. It's got holes in it." And then someone else said, "Don't hit the skunks." I don't even remember what that was from, but I wrote it down.
I do remember that. That's in one of the chase scenes.
The chase scenes,
One of like the real cops end up saying. You got the whole script written.
Yeah, pretty much.
Favorite line throw is the best.
And then so the ending pretty much he threatens to drown himself in the pool, and then he gets his money, and then he gets with the girl. How does it end exactly?
They're going to show his show, and it gets right up to the moment where they're going to show the show. And then it's preempted by an address for the President of the United States.
The most boring preemption ever, by the way. Was that supposed to be Ronald Reagan, or was that me?
I thought it sounded, I mean, I was trying to think if they were trying to do it, but it sounded more like a HW to me.
Yeah.
But I don't think, I think it was just supposed to be like a generic president.
Republican
voice.
President.
Yeah. You got the Southern twang and whatnot.
But that screening scene goes on for a while, which is what makes it so good. Is he's got all of his friends in the living room. They're all going to watch this moment, and the president comes in. But it drags on so long. You see him pacing back and forth in front of the TV. You see him going in and out, sitting down, leaning on stuff.
And one by one, his friends disappear while he's pacing around.
Everybody else is getting bored, and at some point, you see him go into the bedroom while they're still talking. We're going to tax the tax on the tax to make the best America, the safest, greatest America. And he just grabs all of his 16 millimeter, 8 millimeter film and gets it in a pile and goes out front and is burning it. So, which is such a dark little moment of like, this was his one thing, and it's been so frustrating start to finish that he's not doing it anymore. Of course, whenever he's burning it, he has like a magical flame that pops up in his hand. And does it. So even that, I mean, like everything's got something really interesting happening.
It all exists in this very magical world.
Also, running throughout the film is this idea that's never ever really hit on at all, but that he's actually a magician, which is kind of cute, you know, for the director to have, you know, that he's actually got these powers.
It's certainly hinted at,
yes.
and at least hinted at.
You see it whenever he goes to the tax office, or when he's trying to get the permits. He gets all the lights go dark around him. He's getting upset, and the black cloak comes up around his head, and then the
he can
fire
see
in his
people's
hand.
like pasts or whatever.
Yeah, he's got visions all the time.
So even like the visual effects have a way of being either acutely done by him or they're embodied through him. But the effects are done in such a way that both of those have their own language to them. And I think that's a pretty cool thing to be able to pull off in a film, to give you two different feelings out of the same sort of special effects. The fire being one, but then it goes off, and it's awesome. Like you see the NASA scene where the things are looping around. It's all the stop motion, quick cut changing. There's this thing with faces and stuff, where he's doing overlays of pictures. So you'll see like from a distance back on a location, it's every other picture is like a click in on a stone or something, but the pictures have started from ones that are distance to those that are close. And then in between it, he's doing these faces. So it clicks to like, it ends up making a smiley face in the middle of it. So you get the zoom in like you're getting closer in a face, but it's made out of like stone or whatever in between it that comes up in between it. And it's one picture after another. So bam, 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 just quick cuts. And it's awesome. I love it. That's that one little clip that he does is my favorite thing of all the stuff he's ever done. And I'm a fan of even his hobby stuff. And then they're in the movie theater. So come to find out they've been screening this whole movie that we've been watching.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and he says something. He looks like, I think he looks right at the camera and says, "Good thing I kept another copy
Of the script.
Yeah. So it's all saved, and then
They finally get to kiss.
yeah, it actually means something after all that.
Yeah. No, very heartfelt, and yeah, just a good time. Just a good time.
Like I was saying, this being his last film, I've always wondered if it is because of how tired he tries to portray or exhausted he is by the process, which you get towards the end of the film itself. If that's why, or if it was blackballed by Disney, which is the only thing about his career that I've not been able to find anything else on, because he did try to screw Disney over like in 3 different ways and tries to mention how bad that experience is through this film. And Disney has a notorious history.
You don't mess with the mouse.
The House of Mouse, man.
You don't mess with that mouse.
The House of Mouse is coming for all of us.
I mean, Tarantino tried to fight that battle and ended up having to look like a hurt little kid in the process.
Oh, South Park got it
Hateful Eight,
perfectly
you know?
right with the Jonas Brothers Mickey Mouse bit.
Yeah.
That was dead on.
I would like to believe that he did his thing and he was excited about it and that was it. You know, that he never really wanted to do films that much. I like to believe he rode off in the sunset with this film, but it is the one thing that it led me to the film and it's stuck with me out of it. Is why did you not do a movie after this? You know?
Yeah. Wherever you are, Mike Jitlov, you made one great one.
Yes. It is on YouTube. We have a copy of the tape. We just didn't bring it in here today. So
one crazy credit. Watching the credits like I do, I watched them, and sandwiched in between at the end was the following. The producers of this movie assume no liability for persons riding unlicensed suitcases, carrying girls cross-country, throwing litter back into vehicles, or staying underwater without breathing. So we wanted to get that legal liability in there.
Neither do we.
Yeah, neither do we.
it can be done though.
No,
Anything can be done.
It can be done
With the magic of movies.
No. Don't take my word for it. You can go lay in your pool for 15 minutes.
Children
at a party. You
climb
can
up
do-
to the top of your houses and jump.
I don't mean that you can do it, but it can be done. You know, just
Yeah.
do what
Yeah.
you will with that information.
Is that what we're calling it?
I mean, anybody else got anything else to go with?
No.
All right, well.
Trust me.
We now return you to our program in progress.
He means like, where are you right now?
Besides Earth. He's an acid man right now.
Yeah, I'm on acid. That's where I am.
Is that all right? Is that what kind of drugs you're doing?
Yeah, drug, fucking hay, everything.
Beer. Who are you here to see tonight?
Your mother.